On my channel, I have talked about some important Russian Orthodox priests and bishops of today and the recent past. The story would be incomplete without one very interesting and powerful figure in the church, Metropolitan Tikhan. Rumors call him a Putin's man in the church, his own spiritual advisor, and a possible future patriarch. Let's talk about this bright and unusual bishop. Born in 1958, Georgy Shevkunov grew up with a scholar mother, a renowned microbiologist Elena Shevkunova. Georgy grew up in Moscow and graduated from the Institute for Cinematography. After that, he got baptized and entered the monastery in Pechory, an old town in northwestern Russia. In 1986, he got a job at the publishing department of Moscow Patriarchate under the leadership of one of the most influential bishops of that time, Metropolitan Putin. Under his protection and guidance, Tikhan's career started to grow. In 1991, he was ordained as a monk. After that, as is quite common for influential Russian bishops, he rushed through some formal steps towards a leadership position. After just 2 years of becoming a monk, he was appointed the hegumen of the Metochion, a dependency of the Pskov-Pechory monastery where he had lived in the 1980s. Soon after, the Metochion was turned into a restored Sretinsky monastery, and Tikhan became its hegumen. Apart from his monastic ministry, Tikhan occupied many important administrative and even secular positions. He was a rector of Sretinsky Spiritual School, later an academy, and the head of various committees and departments of the church, for example, a secretary of the Patriarch's Council for Culture. Even before becoming a bishop, Tikhan was the church's representative for museums and culture and a participant in the restoration of fellowship between the church in Russia and the Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia. He was also an important part of the beatification of the last imperial family, murdered by the Bolsheviks in 1918. In 2015, Tikhan finally became a bishop. At first, he was a vicar bishop in Moscow, meaning that he didn't have his own cathedra. Yet, already then, the rumors about his influence on Putin and his ambitions to become the next patriarch started spreading. Meanwhile, Tikhan's career kept progressing. In 2018, he was appointed to the Eparchy of Pskov, a significant region in northwest Russia, where he had lived in a monastery in his youth, and made the metropolitan. In 2023, a year and a half into the war in Ukraine, he was appointed the metropolitan of Crimea, annexed from Ukraine 9 years prior. Although he jokingly referred to this appointment as an exile for someone rumored to be Putin's man in the church, leading such a strategic eparchy in the context of the war with Ukraine was actually a significant promotion. Tikhan is known as a very energetic and active leader. He has kept the position of the Patriarch's representative for culture and has also been actively engaged in the organization of historic exhibitions and museums, promoting a loyalist and patriotic narrative and campaigning against alcoholism. As a bishop, he is known as unusually democratic. In his eparchies, he ended the practice of informal monetary donations, which were practically bribes to the bishop. In the system of centralization and total control built by Patriarch Kirill, this seems not only very unusual, but also almost rebellious. Apparently, Metropolitan Tikhan can get away with much more than any other bishop in the church, save for the Patriarch himself. Tikhan is also exceptionally active in various secular domains. Apart from his museum work, which he enthusiastically continued and developed in Crimea, he is known as a prolific author, film director, and scholar. His book about people who influenced his path in the church, personally, is one of the most published books in Russia. In 2024, he defended a dissertation in history in a secular Moscow State University, which is quite unusual for active bishops, but rather common for state officials. Earlier this year, the Russian intelligence agency, the FSB, apprehended two of Tikhan's former assistants, Denis Popovich and Nikita Ivankovich. They are accused of an attempt on Tikhan's life planned as a terroristic attack on a Sretinsky monastery. As it has recently become a custom, their alleged crime is linked to Ukrainian intelligence, to which they promptly confessed. Many experts are more than skeptical about this story, especially the part where the perpetrators were both promised Ukrainian passports, despite the fact that Popovich is already a Ukrainian citizen. Metropolitan Tikhan has not commented on the story, but some sources say he requested a visit with both detainees. If convicted, both face decades in prison for an attempted terrorist attack. Now, let us address two most spread rumors about this influential bishop, to which all previously listed factors contribute substantially. First, Metropolitan Tikhan is Putin's man in the church. Some go even further and claim that Tikhan is his personal spiritual advisor, Dukhovnik. Tikhan first met Putin around the year 2000, when Putin has already come to power. They had many working meetings on different occasions, although Tikhan denies any particular influence on the president. He says that no clergyman is Putin's advisor, much less himself. The rumors are, however, supported by many secular activities run by Tikhan, most of which are either initiated or greenlit by Putin personally. Another sign of their relationship is that Metropolitan Tikhan gets away with expressing way too many opinions that would put any other bishop in trouble. Although, like Patriarch Kirill, Metropolitan Tikhan is always loyal to Putin and his patriotic narrative, he willingly discusses rumors about him. Unlike most other bishops, he is often open for interviews, even with the most problematic and disloyal outlets. He has repeatedly and openly condemned snitches for the regime and openly supported a disgraced and even already criminally indicted former government minister. As a cultural representative in the church, Metropolitan Tikhan often expresses opinions on various events and movies, and rumors say his negative remarks led to the criminal persecution of the stage director Kirill Serebrennikov and the campaign against the movie Matilda, based on the love story between a ballet dancer Matilda Kshesynska and the last emperor Nicholas II. Many Orthodox Christians were outraged because Nicholas was beatified as a martyr, and talking about his love affair was seen as a sacrilege. The second one is more of a speculation than a rumor. Metropolitan Tikhan's name is often mentioned in discussions about the future patriarch. After Patriarch Kirill's loyalist tendencies of the recent years, a pro-Putin candidate seems like a logical continuation, and hence very realistic. Tikhan is known as a very energetic and charismatic bishop, a good leader, much less autocratic and power-hungry than Kirill, and at the same time supportive of the regime and the war in Ukraine. The undisputed loyalty to the patriarch that he always expresses publicly, despite the numerous opinions about their conflicts and competition over political influence, makes Tikhan a plausible successor to Kirill. However, all these speculations lack substance. First and foremost, the election of a new patriarch is probably the only thing everybody would say is in God's hands. The patriarch is elected for life, and despite some health problems and accidents, at 78, Patriarch Kirill is in decent physical shape. As for retiring or being dethroned, last time it happened in the 17th century with the controversial Patriarch Nikon, who strived for political influence equal, if not greater, than the secular monarch, and hence lost. The chances that this will happen anytime soon are pretty slim. Currently, there are a number of other bishops, some of whom are not as public but no less powerful and influential, who could succeed Patriarch Kirill. If we consider his style of ruling the church, when he moves bishops around without providing much explanation, we cannot even guess what the situation is going to be after his death, including the political power in Russia, because at 72, President Putin is just 6 years younger than Patriarch Kirill. As I have already said, Tikhan denies all these rumors and speculations. In his interviews, he is always openly loyal to the Patriarch and supportive of the patriotic narrative of the state. Although his interpretations could be considered too frivolous if offered by someone less influential, Metropolitan Tikhan still gives all the reasons to consider him a Putin's man in the church. Please like the video, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. I see you all next time.